This is Conspiracy Concepts with Dirty Newbie. Today's topic is British Israelism, the years 1800 to 1920. We're going to start off with what is British Israelism? Well, it is the belief that the British people are of the genealogical lineage of the original 10 tribes of Israel. This is my paraphrasing, but I believe the Christian identists and the British Israelites would agree. They were prominent in the late 1800s. They were a denomination of the Anglican Church. It's kind of more specific than just being Protestant, because they're kind of directly connected. It's British Israelism, the Anglican. They became political organizations that support conservative politics. Their support for Benjamin Disraeli was notable. The election was the 1874 Prime Minister election. Anyway, we'll start off here with Richard Brothers. He was born on Christmas Day, 1757, and he died in 1824. He was born in Kirwan, Newfoundland. He was a British naval officer and early teacher of British Israelism. He designed the uniforms and flags for the organization, and he also made a lot of doomsday claims that did not come to pass, and the public looked at him as a lunatic. That's about what I got on Richard Brothers. There is more to it, but that's the gist of his role. Now, his successor, John Wilson, born 1799 and died in June 22nd, 1870. He was considered to be the architect of the movement. He was self-educated, lower class gentleman. The Anglo-Israel Association was created at his house 4 years after his death. But he did the speaking tours when no one would show up. He pretty much held the torch when it was unpopular and kept British Israelism alive. Also, I want to note with John Wilson, I know I have Edward HINE here first. This is the setup for him. The early British Israelism, they were evangelical in nature, so they did try to convert a lot of people, and they did make strong efforts to convert Jewish people during the John Wilson and Edward HINE and Edward Byrd era. This is important because this is why they supported the 1874 election of Benjamin Disraeli, because they were the most similar to him. He was also Jewish born, converted to Christianity. There was a lot of identity connection between the two. But anyway, Edward Wheeler Byrd, he's one of the first very prominent members of British Israelism. He was born in 1823. He was son of a prominent provincial judge in India. He went to the University College School in London, 1832 to 1838, according to Wikipedia. Served in Indian civil service from age of 19 and retired to Bristol in 1868. He was active in 1874 after John Wilson's death, and this is the prime minister election year. And he was active with the Anglo-Israelite Association. And now he doesn't have a direct connection to Benjamin Disraeli. It is like Um, the British Israelites are like the Proud Boys to Trump, or Black Lives Matter is to Obama. So it's more than likely they had connections to the campaign management or someone that is a lot more loosely affiliated with Benjamin Disraeli. And before joining the Anglo-Israelite Association, he was a part of the Society for Promoting Christianity Amongst the Jews. And he did this right after he retired in the Indian Civil Service. And I have some speculation on why he did this. Living in India and being prominent, he would have rubbed shoulders with a lot of the people running the British East India Company. And these are prominent Jews in the British Empire mainly. And they would have been living very decadent, addictive lifestyles that a conservative guy like himself may have not approved of the lifestyle. So this was one of his solutions to the problem that he saw. He became the rival to Edward HINE after achieving leadership amongst the British Israelite organization. This is important because we're about to talk about Edward HINE next. But this guy was an upper class, college educated, not like the typical membership of the British Israelites. He's kind of like a Richard Spencer character. I don't know what the left-wing equivalent would be, but it would be a very rich dude joining a very lower-class organization. Next up is Edward HINE. He was born February 10th, 1825, died October 15th, 1891. He joined the British Israelites at the age of 15 after attending a John Wilson speech. He's not formally educated. He is a bank clerk, and it is suspected that he may have some partial Jewish heritage. HINE left Britain after the rivalry with Edward Byrd, and he pretty much lost the rivalry. Edward Byrd pretty much outclassed him. He's probably better read, had better charisma, and definitely better educated. But while in America, HINE did influence Black Israelism because he failed to again he failed to have any success in the Americas with the demographic he was looking for. He did set up organizations throughout Canada though, even though in America they laughed in his face because it was part of it was declaring the divinity of the British royalty. And after, the American Revolution, people kind of found that laughable in America. So here we are with Benjamin Disraeli. He was born December 21st, 1804. He died April 19th, 1881. He served twice as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. His central role in creation of the modern Conservative Party. Jewish convert to Christianity, which qualified him for politics. His Christian conversion. He's a failed lawyer, and he has a close friendship to Queen Victoria. 1868, he was appointed Prime Minister after P.M. Knowsley resigned for health reasons. And then 1874, he won an election to prime minister. During his tenure as prime minister, he created the Suez Canal Company, which is really just the rebranding of the British East India Company. They had to do something with those assets in the region. One of his major blunders was denying Turks were killing Bulgarians in 1875. He retracted, kind of backpedaled in 1877, was calling for peace in the Balkan area. He did have ulterior motives to that. He did have his Jewish ties made him more aligned with the Turks than the Bulgarians. This may not have been in the best interest of the British Empire at the time. It was kind of a blunder. He had an expansionist mindset. It led also to the Anglo-Zulu War and the Second Anglo-Afghan War. He was taking more turf for the British Empire. Disraeli's global agenda. So nationally, Disraeli was known for pushing the acceptance of Jews into politics and was successful into helping Baron Lionel de Rothschild become a member of parliament. No conversion to Christianity, nothing, just straight Jewish. I'm not meaning to put that in a derogatory way either. It was a milestone for Disraeli. He also assisted in populating the area now known as Israel with Jewish and Protestant people. They started. He was an expansionist. He also wanted to claim turf that he thought the Jewish people considered holy. He's very ambitious. Now, the Disraeli campaign is what ties British Israelism into the greater conservative movement and gives them historical notability. So, 1872, Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace is a huge soccer stadium. And it very similar to what Trump did, selling out the stadiums and going on tour. Nowadays we have radio, media, television, and internet. Back then, it's only print. So this event, the stories from this event lasted and built the momentum for Benjamin Disraeli's 1874 prime minister bid. This is where all the conservative groups synchronized their activities. This is how they started giving out a consistent message across the board, and how they gained cooperation when they were normally competing with each other. Again, British Israelites gained a prominent membership after this big speech, and they just used the event to synchronize everybody, and it also had effects on Irish nationalism in the British Isles as well, because this is such a huge event. We got to notate some things about Queen Victoria here, because she was such a blunder, even though it's her era that defines conservative politics in the West. Why they're so hypocritical. Because, but I'm going to be fair. I'm going to go over a few things here. She was born May 24th, 1819. She died January 22nd, 1901. She was crowned Queen June 20th, 1837. Her tenure was 63 years and 7 months. She was married to her first cousin, Prince Albert. She had 9 kids. 1857 India Revolt. British East India assets in India became British assets. Prince Albert dies in 1861. This is around the time of the American Civil War. And she falls into a deep depression. This sets the stage for a lot of her sex scandals and drug addiction. She sleeps with the help, John Brown, a Scottish butler. There's a lot of notations on that. The other big notation was Indian prince. There's a suspected relationship there. But one of the princesses had her diaries burned because there's more than likely a lot of inflammatory depictions in her diaries. So the first-hand accounts are no longer with us. But if I'm a betting man and I know how depression works on people, she tried to cure it with drugs and sex. Some of the notable things that happened between her and Disraeli: the Public Worship Act of 1874. Both her and Disraeli supported the removal of Catholic rituals inside the Anglican Church. The Royal Titles Act of 1876. Disraeli pushed for more flattering titles for the Queen to hold, Empress of India. September 23rd, 1896, she became the longest ruling monarch. A year later, they excluded Queen Victoria's grandson, Wilhelm II of Germany, from the celebration. That's a precursor to World War I. And it's also noted that Queen Victoria cried at Benjamin Disraeli's funeral. This is according to Wikipedia. A little bit about the British East India Company. As I explained earlier, that Edward Wheeler Bird would have been rubbing shoulders with these people, and it would explain why he would try to convert more Jewish people to Christianity, and why he saw British Israelism as an opportunity to do that, giving Jewish people a firmer identity with the British Empire. That's what his sales point was. So now we're going to transition. Princess Alice of Athlone, granddaughter to Queen Victoria, becomes prominent after the stagnation in America and after things have settled down in America. But she was born February 25th, 1883, died January 3rd, 1981. She was almost 100 years old. 1907, becomes Commander-in-Chief of the Charity, First Aid, and Yeomanry, also known as Princess Royal's Volunteer Corps. Charity operates heavily in both World Wars and is how Princess Alice gains credibility in the intelligence field during World War I. It is notated on Wikipedia that it is common knowledge that the First Aid and Yeomanry was also utilized as a spy network. 1920, she attends the British Israelite World Federation Conference in London and makes connections with many conservative leaders of organizations in America, and she begins to synchronize their messaging. She's also, I suspect she is behind the change to anti-Semitism in the rebranding to Christian identity. She had the funding, the means, and she was a heavy hitter at that conference, one of the big funders of the operation. First aid nursing in Yeomanry. Was active during both wars. 1937, they converted to women's transport service and operated mainly out of Eastern Africa at the time. Now, Princess Alice also, we'll get to this in part two. 1940 to 1945, she was in Canada, and she was married to, forgive my ignorance, the person running Canada during World War II. We'll get back to that. But she was there at the conference that helped decide the rebranding in America to become Christian Identity, to put in libertarian economic theory, which is very British, and also to add anti-Semitism or anti-Jewish sentiment. And I'm going to get more into that because that was done reluctantly by the followers. But some of my conclusions: British Israelism was utilized to organize a portion of the evangelical right wing and to convert Jewish people by offering them social ranking in Britain. Disraeli worked hard to bring the Rothschilds into politics officially and to utilize organizations like British Israelism. The British government capitalized on the foundation in America that Edward HINE had created. Again, it's a network of conservative organizations. Part two, we're going to cover William Pascal Gord, who was at the British Israelite World Federation Conference. Howard Rand, who was the main writer for the transition and who was reluctant to cut ties with his Jewish friends in England and Canada. And he also did write in the libertarian economic theory to make America more susceptible to foreign British influence. We're going to cover William Potter Gale, Wesley Swift, and Richard Butler. Those all three are very closely related, and Richard Butler is probably the most controversial out of the three because his death was less than 20 years old, I believe. And then there's also a tangent on Princess Anne because she is the successor of Princess Alice, and there is a lot of things going on in the British Isles that British Israelism relates to. It may not be directly correlated, but they're in the same spectrum of conservative organizations. But anyway, thank you guys for watching and taking the time to get through this podcast. This is a culmination of research I did last year, and I'm kind of looking at it again, drawing new conclusions. I would like to thank Patrick from the Killing Fields for providing a lot of the original sourcing, and giving feedback. I'd also like to thank a lot of the people I did directly talk to, a lot of Christian identists. This was the original inspiration to making this, because I've never been treated so poorly in my life. I had to, as well, like, how is this a conservative organization? Hypocrisy is rife within the organization, and that's pretty much what I have for you today, and I hope you enjoyed. Take care.